Hello everyone, welcome back to Cryo Cannoning, where we literally make factions players cry. So, today I'm going to be releasing my first video on the channel in what I hope will become a series. And we're going to be looking at the TNT cannon, or TNT, and how we can use it in factions to maybe raid a base, for example. So let's start off by something simple. What does TNT do? Well, everyone should know this. If you hear, it just blows up. But what we're faced with in factions is a situation where, let's say this is a factions based wall. Well, how are we going to get through it if they have water on their walls? Because TNT, as you will very well know, does not blow up in water. Just like that. How do we get past this? Well, the way we get past this is we want to shoot TNT inside another entity. Let's say sand, we could use gravel if we wanted. Red sand, anvils, which are patched on here, probably patched on most servers. So yeah, let's say we use sand. Well, the sand is going to fall inside our TNT, it's glitched, and it's going to actually protect it from the water. So it's going to kind of form a barrier between the TNT and the water. Because basically the sand, which is in an entity in a block state now, as soon as I light this TNT, that TNT is no longer a block which is supporting the sand, and so the sand falls through in entity form, and then as soon as it hits the ground, it goes back into block form. So it'd be like having a block here, and you can see briefly just an air pocket there. So it's kind of like that air pocket with the TNT inside. Because what we're going to find out in a future video is that TNT is not, when it's lit in an entity form, it's not a full block in size. It's 0.98 of a block. So it's 0.98 length, width, and height, so it can fit inside a sand. So yeah, that's basically what's happening. It's glitching because, you know, it just has to glitch when I'm trying to show you something. Alrighty, well, what can we do with this? We know how to bust these water walls now, so yeah, so what can we do? Well, if we look at just a generic tiny TNT cannon from years ago, I'm not even going to put much effort into this. I'm literally going to put in no effort whatsoever. But if we look at this TNT cannon from a few years back, we can see that we can use this to pretty easily see how an entity shoots. Just by, yeah, so we can see how an entity shoots out. So if we have this TNT ticking before our hybrid TNT, then this is going to shoot the delayed TNT forwards, basically. So let's go to TNT fill and fire. Already done it. Of course we have. I forgot to. Fuck, bro, I'm retarded. Leave me alone. I'm very tired at the moment. So yeah, let's go again. The boosters hitting the TNT off, that's fine. But you get the basic idea. If this is going before this TNT here, it's going to boost it forward. So we know how to shoot TNT just with common sense. Now, how do we shoot sand? Well, taking a look down here, wow, what can I get rid of? Taking a look down here, we can't shoot sand when it's a regular block, as you'll see in just a moment, because it's a block, right? It's like a stone or any other block. However, when it's in its entity form, or when it's in a falling state, it's not a block, it becomes an entity. It becomes 0.98 of a block, like our TNT we saw just before. So you won't be able to see it really, but it actually shrinks on the sides a little bit and then falls down. So we want to time our TNT, so our sand, so that as soon as the TNT blows up, the sand enters a falling state, just like that, and then we get our sand to fire. So how can we do this with redstone? Well, first we could guess and check, but first we want to see exactly how long it takes for TNT to blow up. So if I get a redstone lamp, it'll show us pretty clearly. So this is 40 ticks because there's 10 repeaters on full delay. I'm going to assume you're coming into the video knowing what a repeater is. It adds delay to something, so that's 1 tick of delay, 2 ticks, 3 ticks, and 4. So if we have 10 on 4 ticks, obviously that's 40. That's not rocket science. So here we go. So that looked about right, 40 ticks, and yeah, that's actually correct. So it takes TNT 40 ticks to blow up. And, well, what does this mean? Well, now we can time a piston so that it's going to push out our sand the second the TNT blows up. Not the second, the tenth of a second. So let's go ahead and stack this 20 up. Now, with our piston, what it's doing is it's obviously pushing our sand out, and then the sand's falling down, just like that. Sand out and it falls. So we don't want 40 ticks going into our piston. Why? Because it takes 1 tick for our piston to push out and the sand to become like an entity. So if it takes 1 tick for that to happen, we want 39 ticks, because 39 plus 1 equals 40, which is when our TNT goes off. So that's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's fine, and we're going to actually remove 1, just like I said. So if we have 10 on 4, 40 minus 1, 39. So now let's go ahead and fire this. So just like that we saw, and it's also important to note that it will work 2 ticks earlier. So on 38 ticks, you'll see it just like that. However, it's nowhere near as good. It's 3 blocks less distance, and it's just unreliable in general. So we always want 39 ticks going into our piston. So what do we know now? So we know that we can shoot TNT just using common sense like we saw, and we know we can shoot sand now just with seeing how long it takes for TNT to blow up. So, well, now we're going to bring this together, because if we want to shoot sand inside TNT, we got to shoot them at the same time, or yeah, so at the same time. So I'm going to go ahead and make a little power system right now. And so what I'm doing is, you'll notice that these 3 dispensers at the back, this is going to go off earlier than these power dispensers. Why is that? Well, if I get it going off earlier, I can actually get it compressing into this block here. So if I have this going off earlier, that's going to blow up, shooting all this TNT into this 1 block gap. So all our TNT is getting used like as efficiently as we possibly can, and yeah, that's pretty much why we want to do that. Also, you'll notice these ladders. I'll briefly explain why. If this is our power TNT, which is these dispensers, and this is our sand or our scatter TNT, if there's a block in between them, this TNT won't be given any velocity. It's not going to move, because this block is absorbing 100% of the velocity. So what if we change this to a ladder? Well, now we have a situation where the ladder's only going to absorb 10%, and you'll see this block kind of move just over there like that, maybe like 3 1/4 blocks it has moved. So yeah, so that's what we want to try and achieve with those ladders. We want the most efficient cannon possible for our TNT amount. This also gets really important when you get a bit more advanced with your cannoning. So let's go ahead and wire this up. I'm just going to use some basic wiring. If you don't know how redstone repeaters like work going into blocks or dispensers, I might do a video on that as well, just explaining everything you need to know redstone before we really start getting into the cannons. But you are all here for cannons, so I'm not going to waste your time if you already know. So yeah, so here we go. As you can see, I'm adding delay to this power TNT. It's actually going off 9 ticks, 1 plus 2 4s are 8, so 9 after our booster. So slash TNT fill. Alright, well, with TNT filled, let's go ahead and check if this works. We should see it all get compressed just into that one block. Perfect, that's what we want. That's what we're looking for. So now we know that works, let's go ahead and put in our piston. It is important to note as well that we can't put our piston here, because if our sand's here, when it gets pushed out, the ladder actually acts as a block, so it's not going to fall down into our falling state. So we can put TNT here though, I'll show you that soon. Go ahead and stack that up. Also, one more thing is you'll see I'm putting like a barrel kinda around it. Might go glass as well, just so we can see what's happening inside here. So yeah, I'm putting a barrel behind, just in front of this. I'll explain why in 2 moments. Um, because the way an entity renders its velocity in the game is kind of weird, kind of counterproductive like you'd think. We'll go over this a lot more in detail later, but you would think just by looking at this, well, cool, the TNT is going to go, it's just going to go diagonally, right? Well, you'd actually be wrong, because the way entities render a velocity is it's going to render its y-axis velocity first. So it's going to render its upwards momentum, y-axis. It's going to keep rendering this until either it hits something like a block, so it's going to go up and hit this, or it just runs out of velocity and just doesn't do anything. Or it'll just shoot diagonal, do some weird shit. So yeah, so it's going to render its y-axis, then it's going to render its x-axis, which is east to west. Sometimes you'll have an east to west patch on some servers. That's because if you're cannoning and you want to shoot east to west, if you're shooting east and you hit a wall, it's actually going to left shoot, because you've actually still got some Z velocity, north to south velocity. So that's why they have those patched. So yeah, but because these are on the same alignment, we don't need to worry about east to west at the moment. So now that that's there, now it's going to render its Z-axis velocity, or its north to south velocity. And that's going to keep going out until it hits our wall, which is what we want. So yeah, so that's pretty much why I have a guider. That's called a guider. You'll hear me use that term a lot. Okay, so how do we time this? Well, we want it going off 40 ticks, did we discover? We want it 39 ticks. How much is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. This is actually no, that's fine. I'm gonna have to add some more delay. I'll explain why in 2 moments. Okay, so yeah, so we want this piston ticking 39 ticks. We've discovered that. However, that would only work if it was stemming from this redstone here. Why is that? Well, if we stem it from this redstone, now from this specific point, we've got 4 more ticks going into our power, so we have to compensate for this. We have to add 4 more ticks down here. So let's go ahead and do that. So yeah, so now I've compensated for that, and we've got 39 ticks. I'm making this 40. You may be wondering, why haven't I changed this to 3? Well, that's because we also have one going into our dispenser, just like that. I normally just cancel them out, just because it makes it easier for me. So yep, we've gone ahead and set up our sand, so now let's go ahead and give this thing a fire. Oh, we need a wall to shoot at, that might be smart. There we go. Yeah, so we've stacked the sand. Let me just go set up a wall really quick. If you're wondering what this was me recording the same video and having it corrupt. So yes, not a great experience for my first video. But yeah, so let's go ahead and fire this once again at a watered wall. Boom, just like that. So we know we can shoot sand, so let's add in our TNT. Same principle as before, we want it ticking off a little bit after our power TNT. So TNT fill. You could have as much dispensers as you want, depending if you need to break obsidian, you want to change your dispenser amount. So, okay, so we can shoot our TNT in our sand. I'm going to show you an example of what could happen to you just when you're raiding. If you go ahead and fire this just as it is, you'll see what happens. So yeah, sweet, we've busted the wall, and if this was a one walled base, you'd be all sweet. However, what happens if there's a second wall? Well, look at this situation now. So I'm going to bring in another shot, just like this, and so it's actually clipped on this block here. Why is that? Well, it's the reason I explained before. It's rendering upwards first and then out, so it's going to hit this block. How can we fix this? Well, I kind of struggled with this when I was first starting, but we actually need a stack to go ahead and hybrid off. So if we put this block just here like this, we could actually put our TNT directly on this, and then hybrid, and that's going to blow up the rest of this wall. Obviously we don't have this though in our faction scene, we can't place blocks. So to stack sand, we're just going to disable our hybrid. So you'll see I'm just going to stack one sand up and we will be all sweet. Just like that, so you saw one sand get stacked up. I'm going to speed this up, and a good rule for determining when you've got your stack high enough is if you can fly up inside your guider here and fly out to the wall and not hit any sand, and you can fly freely and hit the wall, then you're all good. If this is too high and you're hitting the sand, well, you've got to restack and break your stack down, which is a pain, and it happens a lot. If it's too low, well, you might have the same problem. It's not going to break up this block here. So we want it perfect 2 blocks up. Now let's go ahead and turn on our hybrid, or our scatter. You'll sometimes hear me say the same thing. I just mean the hybrid TNT. Just like that. Now we're going to have to do the same thing again. We're going to turn off our hybrid TNT. Shoot a few times till we get the right level of stack. I'm lazy, so I'm just going to save myself editing and stack that up. And now we're going to hybrid once again. So yeah, you're going to see this work just like that. So now we could do this forever. The only limit is our power TNT just here. So eventually our TNT is just going to be shooting so far that it's not even going to be able to hit the wall. It's going to like hit here, and our wall might be up here, so it's going to miss. So to fix that issue, just add some more TNT to your booster power thing here. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the first video. I hope you enjoyed. A lot of factions, well, cannoning channels just release cannons. They don't tell you how to make them or how to work them really too well, as I've struggled with in the past. Like, you almost have to self-teach yourself how to cannon if you really want to get good. So yeah, in future videos we won't be doing this boring stuff. We'll be doing like anything from a 10 stacker to a 255 stacker, depending on how far we go, how much people like the videos. So yeah, so let me know if you enjoyed the video. We'll make some maybe like a 10 stacker one shot next video. And yeah, so yeah, have a good one, guys.